Friends, 20 days of war. Ukraine is bleeding, undoubtedly. Let us see what is the military position now. Russian military vis-a-vis Ukrainian, and some international inputs and my own analysis today. As per the Chechen Republic, Ramzan Kadyrov, 5,000 special forces are in Mariupol. Yesterday, this is the news of yesterday. And he said he has issued warning to Ukrainian soldiers that they must surrender yesterday evening. Otherwise, they will have to face the consequences. Not very important that 5,000 Chechen army men are there. Even DPR and others are uniting with the Russian military in coordination with that. But inch by inch, they are moving forward. In the meantime, the humanitarian corridor is working. Thousands have left from Mariupol and elsewhere. This is the part of the result of fourth round of talks between Russia and Ukraine delegates. Nothing much has come out, but this is working. Finally, Ukraine is forced to accept. And in bits and pieces, the Ukrainian military resistance is reducing in eastern Ukraine. It is visible. And the fall of Ukraine may not be in near future. But in these major cities, which Putin has claimed is capable of doing so, despite any help from outside, he does not need Chinese help. Anyway, I will come on that. There seems to be a definite trend in Russian campaign, a philosophy, that they are moving in bits and pieces. The recent attack, the munition attack, precision munitions and missile attack in Western Europe, I stand corrected, in Western Ukraine. But besides that, they have limited themselves in moving very cautiously, trying to minimize the civilians' casualties, their own casualty, and taking over the area in Mariupol, Kharkiv, and even the DPR and LPR militia. Their movement is very slow, as I was talking yesterday also. So what they are doing is, they are surrounding these major cities, hub centers where Ukrainian armies are there, trying to break their logistic lines, break their even armament supply, all sorts of communication and propaganda, to force them to surrender, encourage them, engineer them, whatever you call them, and attack vital areas. Areas are very less, but I will call it vital VPs, that is vital points, precision attacks in this kind of military operation and philosophy they are following. Anyway, as far as the global finance is concerned, it's a speculation, we know it. It had again risen yesterday in the hope that there is a peace talk going on. It's all bogus, peace talk going on or not going on. It's all speculation. When you feel that market is down, so these big financiers, they buy or sell depending on the mood of middle and small investors. They are the one who are basically plundered. Global food prices are rising. The grains have risen by 55% in particular regions we are talking about, scarcity of supply, and it has been termed as would-be hurricane of hunger. Mass hunger will follow. It is visible. Yes, I was talking about Russian request for arms and other supplies, aids from China. China has refused, Russia has refused, but this propaganda created by US and its allies, and now US has threatened China, that China will have to face consequences if it helps Russia. However, US and NATO, European Union, openly helping Ukraine. Hypocrisy and propaganda. Nothing else. Okay. As far as countering information, psychological warfare concerned, Russians are way behind because all main media, social media is controlled by Western media, by Western corporates, by Western finance capital. Well, before I stop military talks and this global situation and come to my own analysis, I will say that there are still 50 to 60,000 Ukrainian army in East Ukraine. The war is not simple. The resistance by Ukrainian military was not so easy as probably we had thought of. And despite favorable air situation in favor of Russia or even air superiority, the movement by Russian military is slow, painful, and exhausting. In the meantime, Ukrainian army has attacked with missile, cluster type of charge in DPR, hub center of civilians, killing more than 20 people. A war crime, but it is part of that. And last news is that after 8 years of ban, some semblance of Ukrainian Communist Party was seen on 12 March, where in Kherson, one Saldo, the previous city's mayor, held a communist rally there. A small crowd, but with the banners. Well, friends, as far as the war is concerned, we have to analyze. We are not going what the US is saying, what the Russians are saying, but what is happening. Of course, the news information we get through their media itself, what they say. Peskov, the Russian spokesperson, has said that US, which is talking against Russia and Russians killing civilians, is not talking what it did in Yugoslavia, Middle East and Afghanistan. Naturally, they will not. And we also know it has been exposed. Yesterday, you must find out that CIA has been working in Ukraine for last 70 years. Biolabs, nuclear reactors, enriched uraniums, the plan to attack LPR, DPR, huge armament market as far as Ukraine was concerned, cheap labor, natural resources, all were under the control of US. So war, as far as we see today in Ukraine, is imposed, forced upon by US imperialism and its military wing NATO, facilitated by the Nazi and puppet government in Ukraine, and of course countered by the rising power and government in Russia, militarily, economically, and otherwise. We know as a general rule that, or what we hear, the law of uneven development, not only nationally, country-wise, but globally. And here in this case, we have seen that after disintegration of USSR, Russia has really risen quite a lot in all aspects and looks forward for its own control in its neighboring as well as possible when later on it grows globally. Like what we are seeing the Indian ruling party wants to do, though it has landed up totally in the lap of US empire. To little extent, we can talk of Turkey. Here, Russia, the second most powerful military in the world, with nuclear weapons, hypersonic missiles, advanced tanks, submarine power, airspace power, has risen tremendously, especially so in last 1 to 2 decades, and with geopolitical aspirations. So in this condition, wherein the geopolitical situation that rose in Ukraine, where the balance of power was no more neutral or no more in favor of US imperialism, and after exposition of all this, when Russian bourgeoisie saw it very clearly through its political parties, through its military, that if they are silent at this moment, and even supported by Russian Communist Party in whatever their analysis, they do not want Russian military to move ahead of DPR, LPR and a part of eastern Ukraine, but they supported this move to stop further movement of NATO arms along with the Ukrainian Nazis, and even they were planning, that is now known, to bleed Russia at its border and inside. And this is the result we have seen. Well, as far as this is concerned, we are not talking deep into it, but I will like to tell you that need of war, a major war, was felt by the global finance capital, by the war industries, which was crippling on its own even before coronavirus pandemic and after. And they had been more long time since the war, what we saw in Yugoslavia, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. They needed one. The monopolies needed. And the combination of all these inputs, we are seeing what is happening today in Ukraine. Another point, last point, if you are bored with, I am going to finish it. We, the revolutionaries, do not look for lesser evils. That is a wrong political analysis, wrong dialectics, and an idealist thought process. Incorrect. We have some general laws like monopolies look forward for accumulation and concentration of production and capital, and therefore they need hegemony. As I talked about uneven development, as we are talking about imperialist intercontradictions, these are the general laws, but they have the concrete situation in particular time and particular space, like what we see in Ukraine today. That is also part of the same dialectical law. Why we analyze, sitting far distance from there, to see how the general laws are working there in special conditions, to realize how there is a break in the present situation, the imperialism that is going on with its own internal contradictions, and how to work in our own respective countries towards socialist revolution. Internationalism is not only to analyze, but also to take a position in our respective countries vis-a-vis the capitalist class in favor of the world proletariat and especially in our own respective countries. And of course, beware of the renegades in form of Trotskyites, Khrushchevites, Titoites, social democrats who have en masse shouting, screaming against Putin as if the entire evil has been limited to that. And when you counter them, they say, no, we are criticizing Americans also, but you have landed up in the lap of, at present, lesser evil, US imperialism and NATO. Or, if you are a little more knowledgeable towards the Russian evil, no. You have to analyze, friends, and analyze to take a position in your respective countries with a particular class. Thank you.